Hello everyone. So we are going to be starting the session now. Before all that, the audio issue is still there. Actually, Ashish Bhaiya cannot
Yeah,
hear
that's
us
basically.
both too. So I just want to
Hello,
confirm, Ashish, can you
I'm
hear?
audible.
Bhaiya, you are audible.
Yeah,
Can
so
you
then
hear us?
you guys give a thumbs up यार कि मतलब तुम लोग को आवाज सुनाई दे रही है
चैट
आशीष
में
भैया
टाइप
की?
करो ऑडियो वॉइस ना.
वो चैट को
ओके.
आ रही है भैया कोई नहीं. Yeah, so maybe then we can like continue.
स्क्रीन.
Right.
So my screen's visible, right?
Bhaiya.
Okay.
एक सेकंड.
So today we'll learn about Mohs algorithm.
एक छोटा सा इंट्रो दे देता चैट इनको लाइक इनके
So
बारे में मोस्ट लाइकली तुम लोग वो देख के ही आए होगे.
we'll start by doing questions only, and we'll learn the
अच्छा ओके ओके.
algorithm using question. This is D query from Spoj. Okay. So the problem statement is just you are given a sequence of n numbers, a1 to an, and a number of queries, which we call D query. Our D query is a pair L comma R, and for each D query, you have to return number of distinct elements in the subsequence AL to AR. Okay, so let's try one example. And so let's say the given array is this, and one of the query is this, that L is equal to 1, R is equal to 5. So the answer for this query will be, please type in chat, answer for this query. Okay, everyone read the problem statement once. Now tell me the answer for this query. Just type in the chat. Okay. Okay, good enough. So please verify all the answers just once. So that I know that you clearly understood the problem statement. Please thumbs up if you understand the question problem statement and the example given. Okay, fine. Let's move ahead. So a naive solution to solve the given problem is this. So for each query, we maintain a variable answer and a array which we call frequency array, which is the frequency of a particular number. One thing I missed is in this sequence of numbers, each AI is less than equal to n. Okay, so AI is also bounded by n. So okay, so we maintain a frequency array, and we know the size of frequency array will be maximum n. And for each I in L2R, we just increase the frequency, and if frequency is equal to 1, we answer plus plus. So just so I know that everyone's comfortable, please tell me the time complexity of this solution. Okay, order n q. You can assume that n is equal to q. Is everyone able to understand this time complexity of this solution is order n q? Just thumbs up. Okay, so I'm assuming this is clear. This is the naive solution. Let's modify this solution a bit. So time complexity is order n square. We are assuming n is equal to q. So we introduce two functions, add and remove. So what add and remove does is just we supply the position as input and we just um, update the frequency table accordingly. So, and if frequency is equal to 1, then we do answer plus plus, and if we remove all the elements and we know that we have removed all the elements, then we do answer minus minus. So this is clear. Okay. Then for each query, what we do is, look, in this case, what we are trying to do is we are trying to maintain the frequency array for some current L to current R. Means for interval, will maintain the frequency array, and we will update using add and remove functions the frequency array. So for each query, what we do is, if L, which is means we have to, for answering each query, we have to move the pointers current L and current R to L and R. Okay. So if L is less than current L, what we do is we just decrease the current L pointer and add the current L to the frequency array. Means we update the frequency to the interval and we update frequency array accordingly. Okay. So we move like this. Okay. Please spend some time on this and just thumbs up if you understand that this also gives a correct solution. Aditya Kosudan, please wait about what is Mohs algorithm. I'll tell you later. This is not Mohs algorithm. This is just some part. Okay, this is some algorithm which is not Mohs algorithm. Okay, let me move back a bit. Is everyone able to understand the functioning of this add and remove? Okay, if add and remove is clear, then just check this solution. Means, is this one clear, this part? That this indeed gives us a correct answer. Please type in the chat if there is any problem in this part. Look, we are not saying that this is the best we can do, but just check that this gives a correct answer only. Okay, so I'm assuming this part is clear. So can anyone tell me the time complexity of this algorithm? Type in the chat. Yes, time complexity is same, that is order n square. For time complexity, assume that once we are given an alternate sequence of 1 comma n and 1 comma 1. So in that way you can understand that for the first query, L and R will go to 1 and n, and for the next query R will come back to 1. Okay, one more thing. What is the time complexity of add and remove function? It's order 1, right? Means we are doing order 1, add and remove both in order 1. Okay. So for this part, if we are given an alternating sequence of queries, which is 1 comma n and 1 comma 1. So for each query, have to spend order n time in one of these loops. Okay, good enough, I guess. Let's move ahead. Okay, so what is Mohs algorithm? Mohs algorithm is just an order in which we process the queries. Okay, so Mohs, this is an offline algorithm because we'll shuffle all the queries. Okay, we'll shuffle the queries. So this is an offline algorithm, means uh, do you know is there anyone who doesn't know the difference between online and offline algorithm? Okay, let me tell once. Online algorithm means these are notations just for queries. Okay, means query type of questions. So in an online algorithm, you have to answer the queries as soon as the query is given and in the same order. Means assume that this is an interactive problem. So what happens in an interactive problem is you are given some LR and you have to output the answer. Okay, and the next query will come only after you have answered the first query. Okay, but in an offline algorithm, what we do is we are given all the queries at once. We can take all the input at once and we can calculate answers to all the queries in some way simultaneously, and we output the queries, answer to the queries in the end. Okay, so is the difference between online algorithm and offline algorithm clear? Please thumbs up. Okay, so what we do in Mohs algorithm is we divide the given input array in square root n size blocks. So each block will be of size square root n now, and each query has L and R. We'll call them opening and closing, and each opening has to fall in one of these blocks and each closing will also fall in one of these blocks. Okay, this much should be clear. So we denote means our query belongs to pth block. P goes from 1 to root n or 0 to root n if the opening of that query falls in that pth block. Okay. So what we'll do in this algorithm is we'll process the queries in the blockwise manner. We will compute the answer to all the queries of the first block, then second block, and so on, and finally the square root nth block. So this is the ordering of the queries. So any confusion in this? Please type in the chat if there is any confusion in any of these points. Just type the point number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what we'll try to do is we'll try to answer the queries in the blockwise manner. Means is the fifth point clear that a query belongs to pth block if opening falls in that block? We will take an example later, okay, and we'll come back to this if the problem still persists. So let's move forward. Okay, so for now just ignore all other blocks and focus on block number 1 only, because we'll do similarly for all other blocks. So all these queries have their openings in block 1, but their closing can be in any block including block 1. Okay, so now let us also reorder these queries in ascending order of R values. We do this for all the blocks. Okay, now consider this sequence of input arrays and assume that we have 3 blocks of size 3. Now tell me the order of these queries, in the order in which Mo will process this algorithm. Take some 5 minutes to answer this question, okay? And type in the chat when you are done. Look, if block size is 3, that means that 0, 1, 2, 3 means 0, 1, 2 belongs to block number 1, 2, 3, 4 belongs to block number 2. Wait. 0, 1, 2 belongs to block number 1, 3, 4, 5 belongs to block number 2, and so on. Means you can just divide the starting index by 3 and take the floor to determine the block number. Okay, let me move backwards. Okay. Okay. The fifth point is a query belongs. So look, for determining the block number of a query, you just need to divide the left index by b that is equal to square root n. So in our example case, the block size is 3. Okay, so 0, 1 and 2 are in block 1, 3, 4, 5 are in block 2, 6, 7, 8 are in block 3. So I've typed in the chat for means how to determine the block number. In 0, 1, 2 to 8 are the indices of left index, means the L of the query. Okay. So is the fifth point clear? Just thumbs up if that's clear. Okay, let's move to the sixth point then. So we will proceed blockwise. Okay, means we will try to answer all the queries in the first block first, then second block, and then so on till the square root n block. Is this point clear that there will be square root n blocks? Means we have divided the array in square root n blocks, and the size of each block will also be square root n. So there is nothing much in 6 point. Is the 6 point clear? Thumbs up. Okay, 6 point is clear. Let's move to next screen then. So since we are answering all the queries block wise, let's focus on just block number 1 first. So for block number one, the means L will belong to that particular block only, and R can be in block 1 or maybe in any other block following it. Okay, so in a particular block, just reorder the queries in the ascending order of R. Okay. So now try reordering these queries. These are L comma R's. Okay. So what you have to do is you have to determine the block numbers first, block number of each query. And then you have to first reorder the queries according to the block numbers. And then you have to, in some particular block, you have to again reorder the queries according to R. So is the fourth point clear, that if we reorder the queries according to their block numbers, this will be the order. Means the first 4 queries belongs to block number 1. Next 2 queries belong to block number 2, and the last query belongs to some other block number. So is this order clear? That is the fourth point clear? Just thumbs up if this is clear. Okay, good enough. So for a particular block, we have to reorder the queries according to their R value now. So this will be the order. Look, for the first flow blocks, observe that R is in increasing order, and then for the next block too, and in the end block. So 6th point is clear. Just thumbs up if this is clear. Please type in the chat if there is any confusion regarding 6th point. Okay, so I'm hoping that 6th point is clear to everyone, and the whole example and the reordering or the shuffling of the queries is clear to everyone. So let's move ahead. So this was our solution. Now we'll prove that the time complexity of our algorithm is n square root n. Means after reordering the queries, the time complexity of this algorithm becomes n square root n. So how we'll prove this is, look, the time complexity over all queries is determined just by the 4 while loops present in our solution, and 2 of them can be stated as amount moved by the left pointer in total, and the other 2 can be stated as amount moved by the right pointer, and sum of these 2 will give us the time complexity of the algorithm. Okay, let me move back to show you the code once. So observe that in means the first while loop, only change is in the current L, means the left pointer, and the second while loop is the right pointer, third is left, and fourth is also right. Okay, so time complexity depends on just these 4 while loops. Okay, so let us talk about the right pointer first. So for each block, the queries are sorted in increasing order of right pointer. Okay, so clearly the right pointer moves in increasing order. During the start of the next block, the pointer possibly at extreme end will move to least R in the next block. So we will have square root n blocks. So the time complex total will be n square root n. So for each block, means for observe that for each block the right pointer only moves in one direction and it never decreases, means for all the queries in a particular block. Okay, so the maximum right pointer can go is from 1 to n. Okay, so the right pointer will move only n places. Okay, and we have square root n many blocks, so the total movement of right pointer is bounded by n square root n. Is there any confusion in this point? Just thumbs up if you understand this point. Okay, let me shift to code once again. Okay, so this is our code. So for each block, means if all the queries are sorted according to the right pointer, means the increasing order of right pointers, so the right pointer never decreases, means we will never use means the fourth while loop. We'll never use the fourth while loop for answering the queries in a particular block. We'll only use fifth, means the second while loop, and current r can go only from 1 to n at max. So the total movement of the right pointer is bounded by n for a particular block. Just check this example once. So let's say in this example, for consider block 1. So initially the right pointer is, let's say, somewhere, and so the total movement of right pointer is bounded by, means the right pointer is will be initially at 2, and the maximum it will go for one block is till 8. And observe that right pointer is in increasing order, so we'll never move to fourth while loop. Okay, any more confusion in this part, means the movement of right pointer? Just use the sad react if there is any confusion. Okay, I'm hoping that this point is also clear. So now let us observe the movement of left pointer. Okay. So for each block, the left pointer of all queries fall in the same block. Means we divided the blocks in such a way that, means we divided the queries in such a way that all the queries, means the left pointer of all the queries which belong to a particular block lies within that block. Okay. So the movement of left pointer for a particular query is bounded by square root n. Means if we, and the number of queries we have is, let's say, m, and we can assume that m is equal to n. So the total movement of left pointer is also bounded by n square root n. Just use the sad react if you're not able to understand this or if there is any confusion in this part. Any confusion in this part, use the sad react. I'll wait for 10 more seconds. Okay, so time complexity of our algorithm is n square root n. Let's see the overall code once. Okay, so this is our overall code. So this just input and all, and this is the sorting function. Okay, let's see the implementation of sorting function once. So this is our sorting function. Means x dot left by the block is square root n. It's defined here, which is 555 in this case. Okay, so if the queries don't belong to same block, we just sort them by block size. Okay, x dot l by block and with this. Now, if they belong to the same block, we just order them using this according to the right pointer. So is the sorting function clear? Just thumbs up. Okay, good enough. So these are basic our add function and remove function. I hope there is no confusion in this point. So we just take the input, we sort the queries, and we use this part. So I hope the whole code is clear for this algorithm. Now let us change our question a little bit. Let's say instead of distinct query, means our problem statement was we have to count the number of distinct integers or distinct numbers in the subsequence L to R. Okay, so let's say instead of distinct, we are supposed to find the count of values in L to R which are repeated at least 3 times or any k times. Okay, so the only change in our code will be here in the add and remove part. So if we are given some number k, means we have to find the number of integers which occurs at least k times. Okay, then what we have to do is we have to change the add function and remove function accordingly. And in this case, what change we need to do is we have to just check if the count is equal to k, and here we have to check if the count is equal to k minus 1, and then we do answer minus 1 instead of answer plus plus accordingly. So is the modification clear? Just thumbs up if this is clear. Look, observe that we can edit only one index in the frequency table. Okay, so let's say we are finding the frequency of some number a, or in this case we have written count. Okay, so if we are editing the count of a, okay, so once it goes above k, then we don't change our answer because it's already above k and we have to find at least k. Okay, and for remove part, once it goes, means we edit only if it goes below k minus 1, means for it to drop below k, it has to pass through k minus 1, means we are not decreasing count by 2 or 3 times at once. Means let's say if k is equal to 5, okay, and there is some number, let's say 3, which occurs 7 times initially. So if 3 occurs 7 times initially, we drop, means if we are removing 3 continuously, then the count of 3 will drop from 7 to 6, 6 to 5, 5 to 4, in this way. So 4 and 5 will always occur. Means we are not decreasing, means we are not removing multiple elements at the same time. Okay, this part is important for the algorithm to work. Okay, now just try to think if instead of just k times, it is given that it should occur even number of times. Just try to think of a solution. Means if the problem statement is just tell us the count of integers or the numbers which occurs even number of times, how do you solve that problem? Look for even number of times, our only change will be in line number 33 and line number 40, and that will be just, we have to just check if the frequency mod 2 is 0 or 1. I'll wait for 2 more minutes. If there is any confusion, just type in the chat and we can just move back and see if there is any confusion. Okay, should we move to next part, that is move on trees? Just thumbs up if you want to move on trees. Look, in most of the questions of Mohs algorithm, there is just some function of the frequencies. Okay, there's nothing else in Mohs algorithm. Just need to determine that the problem setter expects you, means if you can solve the problem offline. Okay, that is one prerequisite to apply Mohs algorithm. And the size of array, that is n, it shouldn't be 10 power 6. If it is 10 power 6, you should not apply Mohs algorithm, you will get a TLE. Means in most of the cases n will be 10 power 5 or 2 into 10 power 5 or something like that. Okay. Okay, let's try one more question. Read this question and thumbs up if you are able to solve this question. The link to the question is in the chat box. Use the SAD React if you are not able to solve this question. Okay, let me share the solution one. Look, everything else will remain the same, only these are the changes in the add and remove function, nothing else. Use the SAD React if you are still unable to understand the solution. Look, 2 star CNT minus 1, that is that you can get from basic mathematics, that is actually equal to uh, count count minus 1 whole, means count square minus count minus 1 whole square, that is 2 star CNT minus 1. And similarly for the add part. Yes, Shresh, this is correct for add part. Okay, so I'm assuming this is clear to everyone now. You can just ping any one of us, me, Nishya, or Vaibhav, if you have any confusion in this later. Okay, so let us move on to move on trees now. So our next topic is Moore's algorithm on trees. So try this problem once. Means you are given a tree of n nodes and there is some value associated with each node which is denoted by a node, and you need to handle q queries, and each query is you are given some vertex u and you need to count the number of distinct values in the subtree u. You can assume that the tree is rooted at 1, means the root node is 1. So please thumbs up if you are able to solve this problem using Moore's algorithm. You need to know the basics of DFS and graph theory to solve this problem. So solution is very simple. You just need to flatten the tree by doing a pre-order traversal and observe that all the entries, means all the entries in the subtree of U, form a continuous range. This follows directly from the properties of pre-order traversal, and means you can take DFS order too. Use SAD React if there is any confusion in the solution. Means in Move on trees, we just try to convert the tree into some array and use the Moore algorithm on that array. Is the solution clear? Okay, so let us modify our problem statement a little bit. So instead of subtree, what we need to do now is we need to find the number of distinct values in the unique path from U to V. Okay. So can you solve this problem using the same method? No, we can't, because in the subtree question, what happened was, if we do pre-order traversal, the nodes belonging to a particular subtree all form the continuous range. But in the path problem, this is not the case. Means you cannot map all the nodes, means they don't form a continuous range. You can take any example and you will be able to see that they don't form any continuous range. So we have to do something else in this question. So is this part clear, that the previous solution won't work in this case? Okay. So let us try to modify our order. Okay, just wait. Just take this tree, and if you do pre-order traversal, the order will be, means I'm typing in the chat box, 1 2 3 4, then 5 6. So this is the pre-order traversal, and if you consider any subtree, means let's say 2, so the subtree of 2 is from 2 to 6, so they form a continuous range. Okay, but if you take some path, let's say 2 to 7, so the only indices should be 2 1 and 7, but we can see that 2 1 and 7, they don't form a continuous range. There are values like 3 4 5 in between, so a previous solution won't work. Okay, so we have to make some modifications. So now consider this modified DFS order. This is exactly same as the one given in Cormen, which uses the start time and the finish time. Here we denote start time as STU and finish time by ENU, that is end time. Okay, so we maintain finish time and starting time, and we'll see that the use of finish start time and end time will be able to solve the problem. Okay, now try calculating the finish time and it's the start time and end time of each node of this tree. I'll wait for 2 messages. Okay, just calculate the start time and end time for some of the nodes. It's at least for first 5 nodes, 4 nodes. Okay, 5 nodes. Okay, means we'll start at 1. So the start time of 1 is 1. Then we'll move to second 2. So start time of 2 is 2. Then start time of 3 is 3. Start time of 4 is 4. And now 4 doesn't have any children. So the end time of 4 will be equal to 5. Then we'll move back to 3. So the end time of 3 will be equal to 6. Then we'll move to 5. So the start time of 5 will be equal to 7. And we do in this order. Okay. So just verify these are the start time and end time for the previous graph tree. Is there any confusion in calculating the start time and end time of the tree, means for any node? No, we don't subtract for the end time. We use add only for that part also. So try once more, just calculate the start time and end time for first 5, 6 nodes and verify, means write them somewhere, and I'll later change the slide and you can verify that your computation of start time and end time is correct. Use the thumbs up react when you are done. Use the SAD react if you don't know how to calculate the start time and end time. Okay, please check your compute means your output matches the correct output. Okay, so for any given tree, we calculate this array A, means where observe that start time means the set of start times and end times is disjoint, means for some particular time it belongs to either the start time or the end time of any node. Okay, so we can make an array of this array A in this following manner. Okay, next. So now comes our algorithm part. So let a query be u comma b. We'll try to map each query to a range in the flattened array, the array A which we computed in the previous step. Let's say start time of u is less than start time of v. Look, if start time of u is greater than start time of v, we can just swap them. Okay, we can swap u and v in that case. Then compute the LCO of u comma v. Now there are two possible cases. Case one is t is equal to u. In that case, our query range would be stu to stv. Okay, in that case our range will be stu to stv. Note that we have to make some modifications in the add function and remove function for this to work, means this is not our final solution. Okay, so now let us now consider this, and let's say our path is 2 to 7, or straight. Let's say our path is 1 to 6, means we have to compute for 1 to 6. Now observe that LC of 1 and 6, LC is least common ancestor. Do I need to explain you least common ancestor? Just use the SAD react or any other react to tell me that you know least common ancestor or not. Just the definition is enough. You don't need to know how to compute the least common ancestor. Means you can just use some template from anywhere. Okay, so least common ancestor means you make the path from root node, in this case that is 1, means you consider the path from 1 to u and 1 to v. So they'll intersect for a lot of part, and the least common ancestor is the maximum depth node in that path, in the intersecting path. So in this case, least common ancestor of 4,6 is 2. Means the path from, means you consider the path from 1 to 4 and you consider the path from 1 to 6. So 2 will become the least common ancestor, because this is the node of maximum depth in the intersection of path from 1 to 4 and 1 to 6. So I hope least common ancestor is clear to everyone. Okay, so least common ancestor is clear. So now we need to calculate the number of distinct values from 1 to 6. Okay, so consider this array now. So start time of 1 is 1 and start time of 6 is 8. So we need to consider the array A from 1 to 8. Now observe that 4 occurs 2 times in that array, and 6 and 3 also occurs twice. Means 4 and 3 occurs twice. This is because of the properties of DFS. Because observe that when you go from 1 to 6, you move from 1, then you move to 2. Then once you enter in some subtree and none of the nodes of that subtree belongs to the path, then we'll have to end it. Okay. So therefore, before we arrive 6, we have to exit from 3 as well as 4. Okay. So this means all the nodes which belongs to the path from 1 to 6 occurs once, and all other nodes occurs 0 times or twice. Is this part clear? So we need to take care of this part. Okay. So if P is equal to U, our query range will be STU to STV. Now, if P is not equal to U, okay, then our query range will be the following, means the end time of U to starting time of V and STP. To understand case 2, consider 2 to 7. Okay. So observe that 1 will never occur in the ending part of 2 to starting part of 7. So look, if we are talking about ending part of 2 to starting of 7, none of the vertex belonging to subtree of 2 will occur in that range, because we have already ended 2, and the starting time of all the vertices which belongs to the subtree of 2 will be less than the ending time of 2. Okay. So just satisfy yourself that this range will work, means the ending time of U to starting time of V. And we need to we have to add an extra vertex, that is starting time of LCA of this. Okay, let us take, just leave 2 to 7. Let's take 3 to 5. Okay, 3 to 5, and we have this array. Now for 3 to 5, the ending time of 3 is 6. Okay, we need to check that all the vertices which occurs on the path from 2 to from 3 to 5 should lie in the range exactly once. Okay, we need to check this point. So for 3 to 5, observe that ending time of 3 is 6 and starting time of 5 is 7. Or to make our example a little bit more complicated, we can take 3 to 8. It will make the example a little bit more complicated. Okay, so for 3 to 8, our sequence will be, means for 3 to 8, let's observe vertex by vertex. Okay, so 1 will not occur in the path from ending time of 3 to starting time of 8. Observe that 1 will not occur anytime. For 2, ending time of 2 will occur only once, because we have already started 2 before 3, so starting time of 2 won't occur in that array. For 3, ending time of 3 will occur, starting time of 3 won't occur. 4 would have ended before 3, so ending time of 4 won't occur and starting time of 4 will not occur. For 5 and 6, 5 and 6 will occur twice, both for the starting time as well as for the ending time. Okay. For 7, only the starting time of 7 will occur, ending time of 7 won't occur in the array. For 9, 9 will also lie outside the range, means the starting time and ending time both are beyond our range. For 8, 8 will occur only once, that is for the starting time. So is there any confusion? Should I explain it once more? Just use thumbs up or sad reacts to tell me that you have understood, or is there any confusion? Okay, let's try questions. Okay, let me share the code for this problem. So I've sent the code link in the chat box. Okay. So let us start from top. This is no doubt okay. This should be a problem. Okay, so check this DFS part. This calculates the starting time and ending. No way. Yes, the starting time and ending time. Okay. Means starting time and ending time in this part are denoted by the array LU and RU. Just ignore the line 25 and all the lines which have DP or LVL in it. So I hope this is better now. Okay, just ignore the DP and LVL. These are for the LCA computation. And ID is the reverse map for means for calculating the vertex. Means ID is the array we are looking for. So I hope the start calculation of starting time and ending time is clear. Okay, let's move ahead. So this is the sort function. This is again the same. We store BL. BL denotes the block number. And if block number is same, then we order it according to the right index. Otherwise, we order it according to the block numbers. Okay, see that block numbers are calculated here. So we have compressed algorithm, means we have compressed the add function and the remove function in check function here. Okay. So we are maintaining, means rest is our result, means the answer, and visited x is whether we are, means we are flipping visited as is Boolean array, which stores that whether x belongs to our interval or not. So each time we visit, we just flip it. Okay. Okay, this one is quite complicated, means it used plus plus and minus minus, so we have to spend some extra 1-2 minutes to understand this stuff. So is this clear? Means you can follow the link I pasted in the chat box to check the whole code. Okay, so now we are done with Mohs algorithm on trees too. If you want to discuss something extra, so is there any confusion? First of all, just type in the chat box and we can look the slides once again for resolving your doubts. Okay, so this completes our discussion on Mohs algorithm and Mohs algorithm on trees. Now let's solve one more interesting question. So given an array, you need to find maximum element from L to R. Okay, I know you can do this using segment tree, it's super easy. But just try using Mohs algorithm and tell me the best complexity you can get using Mohs algorithm. Type in the chat box. So is the question clear? You just need to find the maximum element in the range L to R. Means all the elements are already bounded by n. Just thumbs up if you understand the question. Look, if you think about it, the add part is pretty obvious, means you can just take maximum. But the problem will be in the remove part. Means if you already have maximum of some elements, let's say 1, 2, 5, 6. Okay, means you have 1, 2, 5 and 6 in our interval right now. And if you remove 6, so you don't know what will be the current next maximum of elements 1, 2 and 5. Okay, so you cannot, means if you follow the naive implementation, your remove function will take order n time. Okay, so what we can do instead is we can maintain a set instead of the frequency array, or let's say maintain a multi-set for addition and removal, and you can then you can perform both addition and remove in order log n time. Okay, so the time complexity of our algorithm will become order n square root n log n for this problem. Now I'll tell you a method that we can also solve this algorithm in n square root n time by modifying our algorithm a little bit. So is n square root n log n part clear? Just thumbs up if you understand n square root n log n part. Okay, so let us see n square root n solution now. Looks, for n square root n solution, you reorder the queries. Okay, that is fine. Means you have to do in the same way, in the usual way, you have to reorder the queries. Now the tricky part is moving of pointers, means the left pointer and how will shift the left pointer and the right pointers. So for the first case, if left, means for all the queries, just check once that if left pointer and right pointer belongs to the same block. Okay, then just then calculate the answer for that query in a naive way. Okay, so that you can do in order square root n time, because you have just square root n numbers and you have to calculate the maximum. That you can do. Okay, is this part clear? Just thumbs up. Means if left pointer and right pointer belongs to the same block, we calculate the answer in the naive way. Okay, so now our problem is reduced to we are given left and right, and both L and R, they don't belong to the same block. So how do we solve this question now is, look, for a given block, let's say it is from AP to A some Q. Okay, so AP to AQ is our block. Now all the left indices of the query are in the range AP to AQ, and all the right indices are in the range Q plus 1 to N. Is this part clear? Means if our block is, let me type in the chat. block is P to Q. Means these are the indices, left index and right index of our block. Then L is less than equal to Q, and L comma R is our query. Right is greater than Q. Is this part clear? Thumbs up if you understand this part. Okay, so if this part is clear, so now what we do is, given a query L to R, means we are just initializing. Okay, so you maintain two maximums, let's say M block and M rest. Okay, means okay, M block and M rest. M block is our maximum from M block is maximum from AL to AQ, and M rest is our maximum from AQ plus 1 to AR. So we define two variables, M block and M rest, and we will calculate them individually. So calculation of M block is trivial, means we have left pointer lies within the block and length of our block is square root 10 maximum. So we can calculate M block trivially. Now for the M rest part, because we know the index, means the right pointer of all the queries are in ascending order, so we can utilize this property and we can interlink all the queries. Okay, so means let's say for the first query our right pointer is, means we utilize the M rest part of the previous query. Just think about how to calculate M block and M rest individually, and just thumbs up and or sad react if you have any confusion. Okay, so for each query, M block can be computed in order square root n time, because the range is less than square root n. And for M rest part, MR part, you can calculate the MR part as required for all the queries in a particular block in order n time. Okay, so overall time complexity of our algorithm will become order n square root n. If there is any confusion, just type in the chat box. I'll try to resolve it as best as I can.
Did you all understand the current question on how we are finding out the max operation? But yeah, also, can you hear me now? No, I don't.
Okay, so let's end our session here. And if there is any confusion, you can ping me or Nishchay or Webab. Okay. So thank you, everyone.
Uh, Wait a second. Bhaiya,
You can leave the meet now.
uh, uh, anyone have any doubts other than this? You can also ask them. As Bhaiya said, we are ending the session. I would like to thank Bhaiya for coming here, even though they cannot hear me right now. Just let me get this corrected. Bhaiya, can you hear me now?
हाँ.
All right. So thank you, Bhaiya, for hosting this lecture. This was Mo's and Mo's on trees. We were introducing you in the start of the lecture, but well, we couldn't communicate, so that got cut off. But uh, yeah, so
Okay, no problem.
right. So
I
if
hope
any
this.
Currently, the people remaining in the chat, if you do have any doubt, right, you can just type it here, or you can, go to the Discord server as well and ask it there, or directly ping Ashish Bhaiya or me on Messenger or anywhere else. The next session on Maniacs will be shortly, so you can also look forward to that. Again, thank you, Bhaiya, for coming here today and taking this lecture. Uh, and yeah,
Okay. I
yeah,
hope this helps at least some of the people who listen carefully.
yeah. I
More.
listened carefully for all the time because I didn't know mows on trees that well, so it definitely helped me to understand. But yeah, so
I'll
hmm?
I'll just post the means the relevant blogs. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
just let me post in the chat.
right,
This is for Mohs algorithm.
right.
This is for Mohs on trees.
So these two blogs are also in the chat right now. You can go and read about them. First is for mows and the second is for mows on trees, right?
Yeah.
Right. All right then. Thank you for coming today. And see you again later, right? I'll be in. Should I end the session there?
Yes, we can end the session now.
Right. Thank you.